Morning, welcome to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about threshold training when you're running, why you should be doing it, the benefits, and how to even find it, and what even is it. So let's get breakfast and get into the video. Hello guys, like I said at the start of the video, I'm going to be talking about threshold training today. All the benefits for it, how to do it, how to even find your threshold, and why you should be incorporating it into your training. Because this morning I had a threshold training session. It was 5 times 2 kilometers at threshold with a 2 kilometer warm up and a 2 kilometer cool down. We started off at beautiful Main Beach and ran to Surfers, which is exactly 2 kilometers. So that was my route this morning. Beautiful morning, not too warm, got to see a sunrise, you can't beat it. So first off, we need to know what even is threshold training. This is training at your lactate threshold. Your lactate threshold is the point of where your body's producing more lactate than you can use or flush out while you're running at a certain pace. So basically, this is where you start getting really burning sensation in your legs. It's all the lactate building up. It's a kind of pace you can really, this your max lactate threshold is you can typically hold for only about 1 hour. There is 2 types of thresholds, LT1 and LT2, you need to know that, but we'll explain that later. This morning for me was a 5 times 2 kilometer threshold, so I had 2 kilometers warm up at an easy pace, then I had 5 times 2 kilometers at about a 4:30 pace, and my heart rate was about 165. And then 2 kilometers cool down. So I had 14 kilometers in total today to start off the run. And you can see here I'm doing a lot of stretching, activation, because it's not an easy run. It's not super hard, but it is still taxing on the body a little bit. So you definitely need to do all your activation, all your stretching, make sure the muscles are firing before you even get started on this run. And this kind of training is going to benefit people running on the slightly longer distances, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, even all the way up to ultra marathons, because you're working on your aerobic engine and you're getting more efficient at flushing out lactate at these efforts for a long period of time. It's pointless for sprinters because your race is over before you know it. If you do a 400-meter race, you might get a tiny bit of lactate build up and it might get sore, but your race is finished before you know it. And you've got time to walk about and flush all that lactate out. Now we get into the first 2 kilometer repeat, and you can see kind of the difference in pace. I'm still working, but I'm not working super hard. You're not trying to kill yourself on this kind of threshold. You're working that exact threshold where your lactate's building up and you want to get more efficient at flushing it out. And that's the benefit of this. The more you train at this threshold, the more efficient you become at flushing out the lactate out your blood at a certain pace. So say you can only hold a 5-minute pace for an hour, and that's your lactate threshold. The more you train at that, you'll start to become faster. You'll become more efficient at flushing out at that pace. So your lactate threshold maybe goes down to a 4:50 pace. So you can actually run faster with the same amount of effort. Or at that 5-minute pace, you can run longer. You'll be able to run for 1 hour 15, 1 hour 20. And the more you go at that pace, and the more you do the lactate threshold training, the more efficient you become. So you either become faster at a certain effort, or you can hold a certain effort for a lot longer. And that's why it's better for the distance runners. First repeat done, on to the second. I love running down here. It's great. In the morning it's not too busy and it's not too warm either with the sun beating down you, even though it is winter out here in Australia. But yeah, I love it down here. It's great. But you can see I'm not absolutely huffing and puffing at the end of these repeats. I only have a minute rest because you still want your heart rate to be elevated, you still want to be working, so you've only got a minute's rest in between these repeats, but that's all you need because you're not absolutely killing yourself when you're doing it. And that's another benefit because you can do these multiple times a week. There's your second one done. And this is where the shirt has to come off because it gets getting a bit sweaty now. But it's all well and good knowing some of the benefits, but you need to know how to find your lactate threshold. Now, professionals, which is actually what I'm going to be doing soon, just out of my own curiosity, but it's when you go into a lab and they put you on a treadmill with at a certain pace, and they increase the pace every so often, so you are going at a harder effort. And after each effort, they take a blood sample, like they prick your finger, take a blood sample, and measure the lactate that's in your blood. Now, from each effort, your lactate will stay at a certain pace, and then a certain effort, it will jump up quite dramatically. And that's your LT1, that's your lower end threshold. Then you'll keep on going, it'll kind of stay at that pace, and then it'll jump up dramatically again, and that'll be your LT2. And so your LT1 is what you can hold maybe for about 2 hours, and your LT2 you can hold for maybe about an hour. And the different ways you can train both of these efforts, become more efficient, become faster. That's what the professionals do. Not all of us have got a lab next to us, and not all of us have got unlimited money. So what a kind of beginner intermediate could do is if you know kind of roughly what you can run for 30 minutes all out and no more, you go for a 30-minute run, like a 30-minute time trial at a pace you can only run for the 30 minutes, so you'll be pretty gassed by the end of this. And what you do is you take your average pace and average heart rate for the last 20 minutes, and that's your max threshold. That's your LT2. The reason you discard the first 10 minutes is you want your pace and your heart rate to kind of level out. The first 10 minutes can be a bit skewed, so you want your first 10 minutes discard that, and your last 20 minutes you take your average heart rate and pace. Now, one thing to note is you want to go out at a pace, a pretty consistent pace. You don't want to be running super hard and then realising you're not going to make the half hour, so you have to slow it down, and then you realise you're going too slow, so you speed it back up like a yo-yo. You want to kind of stay very consistent, so your average will be pretty accurate. Okay, so we're on our last interval of 2k, and we've got a 2 kilometre cool down. We're going at about a 4:25 pace at the moment, feeling good. So do a cool down, see you back at the house. I'll explain more benefits and why you can incorporate into your training. So just back from the run, showered, changed, had something to eat, refueled for my workout tonight. And I just want to explain more about the two different types of lactate threshold, your LT1 and your LT2. So to show you that, I'll put up a graph on screen and I'll explain that to you. So this is a graph here. As you can see on the left, you've got your lactate increasing, and it's increasing when the kilometers an hour, the speed that the person's running at, is increasing, so the effort which they're going at. So you can see that the lactate stays kind of just under 2 or about 2 all the way up to about 17.5 miles an hour, and this is where it jumps up and goes about maybe 2.5, and this is like lactate threshold 1. This is where it just jumps up a bit, and you could hold this for maybe about 2 hours, and then as they keep on going on the treadmill, if you're doing it in a lab on the treadmill, they would keep on bumping up the kilometers an hour, add more effort, and then you can see when it gets to 19 kilometers an hour, it jumps up, spikes up dramatically, and that is your LT2. That would be the max threshold that you would want to work at. So the more you train these lactate thresholds, so the more you train at 17.5 miles an hour, or whatever your tests have came out to, whether you've done it at a lab or you found your lactate 2 on your 30-minute run, say it's at 19 kilometers an hour, this is what you want to be working at. And then the more you get
the more you work at these thresholds, the more they'll move to the right. So instead of being at 17.5 kilometers an hour or whatever speed you are, that lactate won't jump up till you get to 18 or 18 and a half. And the aim of the game is to be more efficient at higher speeds, to be faster, run a faster race. And so that's basically a little bit of a rundown. So now that you know all about your lactate, I want to give you some workouts. So there's three kind of workouts you can do. There's like a continuous one that you would do for maybe 20 minutes to 45 minutes. You do just under your lactate threshold, and you just go on a continuous run for between 20 minutes and 45. And by the end of it, it will be kind of difficult, but you won't be dying at the end of this workout. Now the other two I like to do, it's repeats, so there's rest times in between. There's only a 1 minute rest. So one I like to do is 3 times 3 kilometers with 1 minute rest in between, or 5 times 2 kilometers with 1 minute rest in between. The reason for just a 1 minute rest is you want to be working that lactate right up to that threshold, to the point where you can't flush out lactate fast enough and it starts to build up. You get that burning sensation, and then you stop. You have that 1 minute rest. It gives you just enough time to flush some out so you can go again, and then you creep back up and you start running at your next interval, and you creep right up to that ceiling, and then you stop, you rest, and the lactate comes back down. And then the more you push that boundary, the more you push that threshold, it goes up, and that's when your threshold starts to increase and increase and increase, and then you can start running faster at the same amount of effort as you were before, or you can run at that effort for a lot longer. And that's the aim of the game for marathon running. So hope you've learned a lot, hope this video helps. Comment below if it does help, and then I'll see you in the next video.